The omnibenevolence paradox. If God is all good, why is there evil in the world? Either God is not all good or not all powerful, as an all good and all powerful deity would eliminate evil. The free will paradox. If God knows our future actions, how can we truly have free will? If our choices are known in advance, are they genuinely choices? The timelessness paradox. If God is timeless and exists outside of time, how can they interact with the temporal world and have a meaningful impact? The foreknowledge paradox. If God knows our destinies, can we honestly be held responsible for our actions, or are we puppets following a predetermined script? Prayer paradox. If God already knows our needs, why must one pray? Can prayer genuinely influence an unchangeable divine path? The multiplicity, the unchanging God paradox. How can divine intervention or response to human actions be explained if God is unchanging? The incorporeality paradox. If God is immaterial, how can they interact with the material world? The intercessory prayer paradox. If God has a divine plan, can intercessory prayers change this plan? And if so, does it imply flaws in the original plan? Non-physical action paradox. If God takes actions in the world, how can these actions be reconciled with a non-physical, transcendent deity? The predestination paradox. If God predestines certain events, does it undermine human agency and responsibility? The equality transcendence paradox. If God transcends human categories, how can humans communicate meaningfully about the divine?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, guys. In this video, we're going to be talking about the realness objection. This is a very important video. It ties in well with the other topics that we have discussed lately. So, on the issue, remember the issue I brought up about wisdom, hikmah, and eternal damnation, where Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, while he was seeking for this hikmah, what is the hikmah? He ended up denying the eternity of hell. Okay, and I tied in this concept. I said his methodology is what led him to it, and people are like, what are you talking about? I can show it in another aspect also, and that's what we're going to go over today. The realness objection. This realness objection is, you might have seen me talk about it before in a video where I was responding to Brother Jake, where Sheikh Abdul Yusuf went to Closer to Truth YouTube channel to talk about the Islamic concept of God and how God transcends time. So Brother Jake made a video where he was saying that if God transcends time, how can we have a real relationship with God? How can we pray and God hear our prayer in real time or something like that? So it was kind of making that realness objection that it's not real. If God is not temporal, it's not real. They make this similar argument that if God is not spatially extended, God is not real. Like, how can you see God if God is not spatially extended? Those kind of arguments is what I'm calling realness objection. And you will see this in many, what's it called? It's usually atheists that make this kind of argument. But anyway, that is their methodology. And now I'm going to show you where they are inconsistent with it. The first part is what I said in that last video. They didn't follow Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah down that route. So Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah saw the same realness objection with the issue of wisdom and eternity of punishment. For Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, there is no wisdom in punishing someone eternally. Therefore, he denies it. You see, it's not real. The wisdom is not real if it's eternal. It has to be for purification. It cannot be a punishment that is eternal. So he denied it. Now, in the issue of spatial temporality also, they are consistent with him on that. But on the issue of hell, they reject his position. Now, there's another place where they reject not his position, because he is also not consistent in this particular issue. It's the issue of Qadr, okay? Qadr. And I already made this argument before, but I just want to flesh it out more in this video. So, the issue of Qadr, the idea that God has predestined everything, I showed in that video that how can your prayer be real if everything has been predetermined, decreed by God, foreknown by God before you even existed. Atheists are people that are living Islam. They make this kind of argument that they are living Islam because you are telling us that God already predecreed and knows everything we will do before we even existed. Therefore, our freedom is not what? It's not real. Let me tell you now categorically, the same way, if God is not spatially extended and God will not be real for some reason, and if God is not temporal our prayers cannot be real, or similar things or God cannot be really interacting with the world. The same way here, if God foreknows and foreordained everything that will happen in creation, the atheists are justified in making that claim that our freedom is not real, therefore we are not responsible, therefore God is responsible for everything. In fact, they blame God for everything. Okay, and then you have the Jabariya and you have different people. But the point is not that. The point is the argument itself. The argument is basing itself on it's not real, our freedom is not real, and similar things like that. So you have to deny Qadr if you want to be consistent with your methodology. So it's the same argument that you're using to deny to affirm temporality for God. You're using it to affirm spatial extension for God. But here, because Qadr is a clear-cut concept, just like hell, you find it difficult to deny them. That's why you're not following Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah on the issue of hell. And here too, none of you can deny the concept of Qadr without becoming Mu'tazili or a Qadariyya. Therefore, you are forced to kind of accept it. But your argument is against it. That is the argument, the position I'm trying to explain to you here. It's the same concept. I know it's difficult for some people to see the underlying principles of arguments, but I'm showing you now it's the same underlying principle. In fact, I have a video that made all these arguments and many more in the same frame of reference. If you want that video, ask me for it. I'll show you. You will hear all the types of arguments that atheists make. You will find Taymiyan Salafi Aqeedah arguments in there. The argument against spatial extension, the argument against that God has to be spatial, and the argument of temporality. You will find it in that atheist video. So the point I'm making is that if God predecreed everything, now here's a question. If God predecreed everything and foreknown it before he created anything, how can it be real? We are compatibilists and we believe it is real. From what I've researched, you guys are compatibilists too. So you believe it is real even though God foreknows it and preordained it, and you still believe it is real. If you do that, you are kind of doing what we do when we talk about God existing, even though God is not spatial, and God being real without being spatial temporal. The same thing you're doing there. If you don't know, I'm showing you now. Because here's an argument they can make. They can say, God told us in the scripture, وَلَمَّا يَعْلَمِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا مِنْكُمْ وَيَعْلَمَ الصَّابِرِينَ, that God is testing us to know. What is a test that is real if God already knows it? Here is your belief. Let me tell you, as a Muslim that believes in Qadr, you believe God knows who is going to be tested or not. You believe God has decreed who will pass the test or not. You believe that. If you believe that, your arguments that you use to deny atemporal and non-spatial existence for God, you are not using the argument there. You are not. You need to see that this is the same kind of argument. The person that the Mu'tazili or the Qadariyya or the other guys, open theists and atheists, they will say if God has foreknowledge and God has predecreed everything and nothing can change God's decree and God's knowledge, therefore test, when God says test in the Quran, that is testing us. When God tested Abraham alayhi salam, it's not real. They will say it's not real test. When and our prayer also, your prayer, who is going to pray or not, God has already predecreed it, foreknows it and determined it. How you're going to pray, exactly what you will say, whether it will be accepted or not, you guys believe it has already been predecreed. If your argument for denying, for saying that God is spatial and temporal works, then you have to become a Mu'tazili or a Qadariyya on this particular issue. Similarly, I made a claim in that last video that you have to deny hell, the concept of eternal hell. You have to deny it if you want to be consistent. Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, he saw it on the issue of hell and he had to be consistent. You guys didn't follow him that route. So you are working with two frameworks that that is not compatible. You're working on one hand with this only on spatial temporality, but when it comes to the real clear-cut issues like hell and Qadr, you are not using it. You are following the tradition. You are following the same way the Ash'aris define these things. You're a compatibilist on the issue of Qadr. That just sounds like it's weird. You are holding two positions that is not compatible. Anyway, I hope you guys see this argument such that I can force you to be consistent. It's either you will see what you did on the issue of test. Think about it to yourself. your prayer and your test, how are they real if God has decreed it and foreknown it before you even existed? How is it real? You will see that is either you will explain it, some people can go into details and explain it, or you will say this is beyond our knowledge and we don't want to talk about it, but we affirm that they are real. You see, when you do that, you are consigning the meaning to God. You are doing a kind of tafwidi thing. You are doing like a tafwid something. Like, somehow it is real. Somehow the test is real. Somehow the prayer is real. I might not be able to explain it because of the concept of foreknowledge and pre-decree, but it is real. The same way we say God exists, even though it's not spatial, and God is real and exists without being temporal. And all the objections you have with us, you will have to deal down the line with the atheists, the Mu'tazila, the Qadriyya, the open theists, when they push you for consistency, and you won't be able to do it. What do you guys think of these arguments? I will talk more about similar issues. I could have gone a different route. One way I could have done this, and I've done it in another video, you can check it on my channel, where I was talking about the Taymiyan hermeneutics, is that I can just go to those verses of the Quran that spoke about God testing us, that spoke about God something like that. I could have gone to those ones and showed you how you're not, your interpretation, whatever you do there, you're not consistent with the other one. But I just want to go to the heart of the matter and bring this concept to you guys. So what do you guys think in the comment section? See you guys later. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.